Okay, it looks like we're live. There's quite a few of you here already, 171 and 98 likes. Maybe we should get more likes. But I don't, anyway, the title today is Bimetallic Monetary World Could Potentially Emerge as Silver Price reverts to mean or to fair value. Yeah, and I did say potentially, of course. This nothing is certain, but I have a feeling there are too many people that really downplay silver. They say, yeah, it will go up, but it will only be an industrial metal. I kind of yeah, I kind of disagree with that, and I'm not saying it will definitely come back as a reserve asset or as money, but I think there's a good chance that's what we're going to look at. Clive should be coming on in about 10 minutes. Rafi Faber might come on tonight. He said he'll try to make it, but he didn't. He said he couldn't guarantee it. We'll have to wait and see. And I'd like to thank at Kapler79 for his super chat. And he says, Hi, Mario. I saw a large electronic billboard in Toronto last week advertising a diversified silver miners fund showcasing returns, demand, etc. Are the normies finally waking up? It's about time. Well, it looks like at least they're trying to wake them up. Whether they do right away is a different question, Kapler. But yeah, it's a sign that things are changing. There's Rudy, by the way. He's on the sofa, asleep. Um, anyway, let's see. Michael LK 414135 says, Thank you for all you do. Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for all of you guys' support as well. It makes this channel possible because if I didn't have your support, there wouldn't be a Monaco 64 community or channel. Dutch Libertarian says, Do you? He's talking to someone else. Let's see who's here. Dutch Libertarian says, Happy Sunday, and Rudy. Um Over here says, May you rest in peace, all the servicemen who died on December 7th, 1941. Yeah, today is the day. I think it was 84 years ago. The Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And I don't know if, well, I've told you the story. Some of you, of course, haven't heard it. But in high school, at the American school in Rio, in Brazil, I did a book report on Pearl Harbor, the attack on Pearl Harbor. And I found a really interesting book in the library that probably was never taken out before I did it, and probably no one's taken out ever since. But in it, it says that basically the U.S. administration was very much aware the Japanese were had a plan to attack Pearl Harbor, and that they noticed it on the day with the radars, and yet they did nothing. So FDR said that it would be a date that will live in infamy. My question is it infamy because of what the Japanese did, or because of his sitting on his hands and doing nothing to stop it? That's what I would say. And with what's going on in Ukraine and the fact that the Europeans and the EU are so adamant to keep this war going, we need to really be vigilant because these powers that be, these warmongers, they always want an excuse to prolong a war or start a war. And at the time, Americans didn't want to go to war, World War II. But of course, this Pearl Harbor attack, yeah, changed everything. A little bit of history. Jake's Custom Parts is here. Says thanks, Monaco 64. R. Elkas, The Price of Time by Edward Chancellor. Thanks, Monaco 64. And gentlemen, this Sunday, December 7th, Yeah, that's a really good book, The Price of Time. I highly recommend it, and I recommended it before. I'm sorry if I don't see all of your comments. I'll try. Andy Lee from Italy says hi to Mario and Rudy. Beefy Farmer, hi Mario and Rudy from sunny St. Lucia. Yeah, not so sunny here in OD England. It's a bit cold and wet today. Uh, Wisdom Springs, good evening, Mario from Cumbria. 5253 Sunil, sunny in Phuket, that's in Thailand. Justin Taylor, 1098. Evening Mario, is Rudy with us tonight? Yeah, there he is. He's just a little bit behind my seat. And Durarama, hi Mario and Rudy from Quebec. On the Edge, 2011 from Lisbon. 10,000 uses for silver. Yeah, I mean, we're going to look at some charts and we're going to look at some stuff about silver and why I think silver could potentially be, well, the Indians are kind of monetizing it again. From April next year, you'll be able to use it as collateral for loans, not just individuals, but banks and companies. Some people said, oh, it's such a small amount, but don't forget, India has the biggest middle class in the world. Yeah, I know there's a lot of wealth inequality in India, but with 1.4 billion population, it has, I think, almost 300 million middle and upper class. So it's a huge market for that, I would say. And yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. I wanted to give an opinion about what could happen in the US vis-a-vis silver as well. Uh, MIK 1967, I got a sterling silver notebook case yesterday. Do you have any nice 925 silver? Yeah, I do have some 925 silver stuff. I mean, I have some 925. I'll show you one here. It's a sovereign purse. This is what like our great grandparents used to where they used to put their gold sovereigns, and it's made of sterling silver. So like you hang it on a chain in your vest pocket. Yeah, so that's like Victorian, I would say. I have some other stuff, but right now we're here. David James Flood, the double cross system in the War of 39 and 45 details how the British played the Americans and Japanese against each other. Yeah, I'm not surprised because I would venture to say that if the Americans hadn't come into World War II, the British would have lost very quickly. They were on the back foot. So cui bono, who really benefited from Pearl Harbor? Not the Japanese, not the Americans. I would say the British, but in the long term, the British have lost because, yeah, the empire collapsed after World War II, even though they won, and their currency got trashed. And nowadays, Britain is a shadow of its former self, even though it acts like it's still important. And yeah, I think that's very dangerous. Swartz Fager 69 says from Arizona says hello, my friend. Hello, Swartz Fager 69. 1,000 in live chat and only 300 likes. Yeah, we need to hit the like button. Clive should be coming on any second now. Silver Streak. Yup. What else? David Jones, British bankers. Yeah, I would say so. When I say that about Britain, cui bono about World War II, It's the elites, right? It's not the British people. It's like now in the US. It's not the American people that it's the neocons and the globalists that are in charge, that are the problem, not the people. There is a saying, I love my country, but I hate my government. That applies to the UK as well. So there you go. Clive has just come on. Clive is a minute late. No, that's not Swiss punctuality, Clive.
Hello, Mario. How are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah, I've had a minute late. I had some problems with my computer. It's deleted about 150,000 files over the weekend,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, I'm trying to get it back. So it's slowing me down a little bit in some
That's
respects. But
okay.
hopefully,
I was joking anyway.
yeah, luckily Zoom is working.
Yeah, someone, Britannia Enjoyer says, Hi, Mario. Hope you had a nice weekend. Love your content. Love from Austria. Oh, that's great. No, thank you. Yeah, I did have a nice weekend. Thank you. John Kelly says, Bonjour, Mario de Quebec, au Canada.
Remember your French, Mario. Well done.
Yeah, don't forget it. It's maybe a bit rusty, but don't forget it. Um, and Andrew Watson, hi Mario and Rudy from Basingstoke. Clive, the title today is, and you've probably seen it, Bimetallic monetary world could potentially emerge as silver prices revert to fair value. And I mean, I have to thank Eric Young or King Kong. The other day I interviewed him and he said to me, the higher the price of silver goes, the more important silver will become because why would central banks want to hold silver in their vaults at 20 or $30? But it's at 300 or even 1,000 becomes more interesting. What's your view on that, Clive?
Well, I mean, it's just been an absolutely amazing week, and if it carries on at this pace, by sometime middle of next year, it will be over $100 and probably $200 in 2 years' time. I can't even. Well, looking a week ago, we are at $48. Where are we now? We're at $58. $10. It's maybe 10 days. $1 a day, really.
Yeah, 58.36 was the close on the spot. And also the gold, I'll bring it up right away now. We look at some charts. Well, oh, here it is. The gold silver ratio looks very negative, which is bullish for silver and bullish for precious metals in general, because since the Bretton Woods system was broken apart. Whenever you have precious metals bull markets, silver does really well towards the end of the bull market. I think, yeah, in 1980, the ratio got to 16 to 1 right here. And then in 2011 got down to around 30 to 1. And I'm not saying the bull market is about to finish, but as you've seen here, this level here, I've been watching 73 and we closed at around 72. And this is a monthly chart. So longer term, it looks really, there's still so much room for silver to uh, outperform gold.
I mean, I think if gold keeps going up, silver will go up faster, and that will reduce the ratio. Where I think the short-term target to aim for is something like 50 to 1, silver to gold.
Short term, yeah, I agree. And I wouldn't discount seeing 15 to 1 again. Some people think that's impossible, but uh, if you go further back in 1968, it was also 15 to 1 or 16 to 1. And the other thing that I think is happening, Clive, is that the bonds are in the bear market. They've been in the bear market since 2020, in my opinion. The 40-year bull market we had in bonds, that's over. And yes, the TLT, which is ETF for like representing long-term treasuries around 20-year maturity. Yes, it's up slightly on the year, but you can't really compare it to gold and silver. And I think, Clive, it's not just treasuries, but also corporate bonds and other kinds of bonds. There's so much debt around, Clive, that I think every year the bond market has to reissue like 27 trillion because a lot of these bonds mature and they have to roll it over. And the gold and silver market, the new issue of, or new production of gold and silver is less than 1 trillion. So, I mean, people are gonna tell themselves we need to have some gold and silver, even if they don't buy like 20% of their, let's say, portfolio into gold and silver. But if they decide to lift it to 2% from nothing, or even five, that's huge.
I mean, the rate of expansion of government debt is going faster than the people's wages, faster than the cost of living. So government debt and debt generally as a percentage of what's on the planet is becoming a bigger and bigger proportion. And ultimately that means that we get to a point where people get to an indigestion level and they say, I don't want any more of this government debt. And that's when the yields will start to rise to unacceptable levels. When that happens, probably the central banks will be invited to step in and act as buyer of the last resort, what they call yield curve control, where they buy government bonds by printing money to try and keep the rates from rising any further. And I think that's coming next year.
Yeah, I think what we're going to get is financial repression, Clive. We're going to have prices rising at 4 or 5%, and they're going to keep rates at 3 or 4. So that's like they're going to really debase the value of people's savings. And if you don't have any gold and silver or even copper here, someone's asking my price forecast for copper. Well, looking at this chart, it looks like it's going to go a lot higher, Clive. It's at all-time highs. This is high-grade copper futures. But so
I'm just
I don't
looking.
know. I mean, the sky's the limit here.
Yeah, I've been saying that copper should probably start to rise in the middle of next year, but it looks like it's well ahead of the curve now. I
Yeah,
see on the futures 54 $5.46 per pound, I guess that
yeah,
is.
yeah. It's just broken out of this. It
And
looks
it's
similar to
uh,
silver.
yeah, it's not. I mean, on my chart, it's not quite broken out. It needs to go above 650, something like that. But it's heading in that direction, and the trend is upwards.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I've noticed as well, and I'm going to bring up another chart here that I've been meant to show people here. Where is it? Uh, oh yeah, it's the Bloomberg Commodity Index. Um, Here it is. In 2020, we had that COVID crash of everything. I think gold and silver picked up before the commodities, and then commodities caught up. And up until recently, we've been in a consolidation, but it looks like it's breaking out as well. So, and that is going to be, well, that's going to be inflationary, or is going to lead to higher prices, if you want to call it that. And yeah, and I think the central banks, especially, I heard something about Japan, Clive. If the average yield or cost of financing for all Japanese government bonds goes to 2%, that means that all the tax revenues that the Japanese government gets is going to go to just service the interest on the debt. So I think Japan is going to have to keep doing QE, even though they're raising short-term rates. I wouldn't be surprised if the yen is the first currency to hyperinflate.
I mean, the Japanese 10-year yield, I'm just bringing it up on my looking at my screen now, it's 1.949. And we go back a couple of months ago and it was what, 1.3, 1.4.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And I remember
So
when it was negative as well, 3, 4 years ago, Clive.
So obviously, when we get to 2% on the 10-year, which is looking inevitable now, it doesn't mean to say the cost to the Japanese government is 2% on the all of its debt, because most of its debt will have been taken out when the yield on this was from, let's say, between 2016 and 2022, as an example, when the yield was less than 0.5% on the 10-year. So it'll take another 5 or 10 years for that average interest cost for the Japanese government to rise towards the 2% level where we're more or less at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, I agree. Nashville Pasta Man, thank you for your super chat. He thinks, I don't know if he thinks or if he's got information that I don't have. He thinks Powell will announce 45 billion QE. He says T-bill purchases. I'm not sure it will be T-bill because T-bills are very short term. They're up to a year. I think he would rather, if he was going to do QE, he would probably buy longer term paper like T notes, which are 2 years to 10 years, and then bonds, which are everything more than 10 years. T bills are just up to a year maturity. But where did you hear that Nashville passed them? And is that just speculation, or you were you a fly on the wall of Jay Powell's office? Anyway, what do you think,
Well,
Clive?
well, I think if it is announced officially, we're going to see an almighty rally, and they won't be, as you say, it won't be T bills. It'll be T notes or T bonds, which are the probably I would say T bonds 10 years plus. If it's announced, we're going to see a mammoth rally in the 30-year bond. We could see 20% gain literally overnight if it's announced as such. But I don't think he's going to announce it. I think that's very unlikely. I think they'll start doing it, yes, but whether they'll announce it, I mean, they have said already that the time is approaching when they start buying government bonds. That has been said. But to say we're going to do it on such and such date, I can't see them announcing. I think they'll just
Yeah,
start doing it gradually.
I think it's from, I've been told it's from a story on Zero Hedge, so we're going to bring that up. Uh, I mean, it's a paid story. I mean, Zero Hedge used to be free, but I think I can get it for, no, I can't. So this is the story here, Clive. I mean, just the headline. It says, former New York Fed repo guru Powell will announce 45 billion in bill purchases. Okay, bill. I mean, Pastaman, Nashville Pastaman was right. The last time we shared the thoughts of former New York Fed plumbing guru, the current Bank of America rate strategist Mark Cabana was about 2 months ago when he validated our prior assessment. So. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna announce the meeting starts on Tuesday and then they announce things on Wednesday. So we'll have to see what happens with that. See if there's any more.
It
Yeah,
says, I'm reading something here. It says Bank of America strategist Mark Cabana expects an announcement of 45 billion in monthly T-bill purchases starting in January.
yeah,
But that, that's just an expectation he's got. He's not saying
yeah.
where it's coming from. And then it says UBS has a similar forecast of about 40 billion per month beginning early 2026.
Well, yeah. They
So
might
maybe,
even start before if there's some kind of liquidity crisis in the next few weeks, and you couldn't count. You shouldn't count that out, I think.
I mean, these are just, I suppose, educated guesses by these people, but I guess
Yeah.
they're well connected and they've got a feeling for which way the wind is going to blow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, feel free to ask questions, guys. This is a good day to ask questions. Sometimes it's hard to go through all the comments in the comment section. So yeah, Clive, what have you been talking about on your channel? And talking about Clive's channel, if you haven't yet, make sure you go and check it out. Clive Thompson on YouTube. Very good channel.
Well, the latest video I did was yesterday or the day before. I picked my top gold and platinum mining stocks because a lot of people have been asking me for an update on what are the best mining stocks. 'Cause I did a video like that about 6 months ago, and then after that, lots of questions. But the trouble is the ranking has kind of changed. I did get a question today from somebody who said, I've looked at your top picks on that video, but I think McEwen Inc. is a much better bet because they went into a description as to why it's got a much lower price or will have a much lower price earnings multiple in 2027 than the ones I picked. And I know only had to say, it's an excellent company from my perspective, but on the video, I'm picking very large companies. I mean, we're talking the smallest one is about 10 billion Canadian dollars. So they're large companies and they're companies which are profitable. Now, McCunning is profitable. It's just turned profitable this year. And it probably will be much more profitable in future years, but it's only $500 million in size, Canadian dollars, I think it is, or
Yeah.
maybe $1 billion Canadian size. So just to put it in perspective, the video I did was about large
Yeah.
gold and mining companies.
Yeah. Even though I think Rob McEwen, the CEO there, he's a very famous and successful mining entrepreneur. So I think it's a good company too.
Yeah,
Uh,
I like the fact that he doesn't take a salary. He takes a salary of $1 a year from that company, and the rest of his remuneration is because he's a big shareholder. He's got 35%
yeah.
of the shares.
Uh, S Jack 827, if silver hits $100, what else will happen in the economy? Do you want to answer that first, Clive? Have you got any?
Well, just because gold or silver reaches a much higher price doesn't mean to say that anything has to happen in the economy. Of course, if you're going to buy solar panels, it'll cost you more. If you're going to buy an electric car, it might cost you $20 more or something like that for the car. But nothing much is going to happen to the economy because the silver price is higher. What's more important is if the price of all commodities goes up. Now, if all commodities goes up, then we have an inflation, a serious inflation starting, and that means in an inflationary environment, bond yields will go up, bond prices will go down, and people will rush into assets which can protect themselves. Obviously, and that would be part of the bigger thing why silver already probably is at $100 and gold is probably at $5,000 or $6,000 by then.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question because back in 1980 and 2011, it the rise in silver to record highs coincided with the dollar crisis of late 70s, early 80s, and then 2011 it corresponded with the Southern European sovereign debt crisis. So, yeah, I mean, it could be to do with the Japanese government bond market and the carry trade. Someone just asked here, high silver. Will Japan bonds last till Christmas? Yeah, I think they'll last till Christmas, but they could continue to drop in price. They're still compared to yields. In the UK, US, and other countries, they're still relatively low. But yeah, the Bank of Japan owns like half of all the long-term bonds. So yeah, they can afford to sit on losses. But it could, yeah, spill over into other markets because if the Bank of Japan also raises short-term rates, that's going to make the carry trade more difficult to keep on because in the carry trade, investors and speculators they borrow in yen to buy higher yielding assets. But if the cost of borrowing yen goes up, they have to get out of that and sell their assets. So it could create a lot of volatility all around the world. That's what I see. What do you think about the Japanese market, Clive? And someone today contacted me and said, "Have you looked at the Swiss franc versus the yen?" And it's almost as bad as gold in yen. It's
Yeah,
appreciating massive. It's almost at 200 yen, the Swiss franc, and it's gone from 60 yen.
I mean, the yen continues to go down despite the higher yields on Japanese bonds, and that will be hurting those who've in the carry trade, because they want the yen to go down, and they want the borrowing cost in yen to stay down. So the ideal situation, if you're doing the carry trade, the way it works is you basically borrow Japanese yen at the lowest possible rate, and you buy a higher yielding currency and invest in their higher rate bonds. Now, if in Japan we've got yields going up, it means your borrowing cost is going up. And if the Japanese yen, the falling Japanese yen is helping them for the time being. But if that reverses itself because of the higher interest rates, of course, there's going to be a lot of people which are hurt.
Yeah, the other thing though, too much of a good thing, like the falling yen for the people who have the carry trades on. becomes a bad thing for Japanese consumers and the public because their currency is like shrinking at a rate of knots. And I think that's why there's been a lot of political problems in Japan, and people are getting fed up with the cost of living rising. So yeah, I think Japan is in really deep trouble. And if we have a major crisis of the carry trade in the Japanese government bond market, it will definitely spill over. And I think, Clive, the response from other central banks will be to print. So that's why I think having gold and silver is a wise thing. Ounces app, thank you for your super chat. Would Fed would the Fed choose to buy bills instead of bonds due to the U.S. government debt rolling over, primary being short-term debt? It could be because Janet Yellen did increase the amount, increase short-term bill issuance. So yeah, it could be that. That's really bad though. You know, that's a really the fact that they're cutting short-term rates and they still have to do QE to keep demand from collapsing. Yeah, that's a really bad thing. So you could be right, Clive.
Yeah, I still don't see why the Fed would buy short-term bills because the Treasury itself could control the short-term end of the market. I would have thought the Fed would. I mean, I know everyone's saying they'd buy bills, but I would have thought they'd want to buy longer-dated bonds and control the longer rates.
Yeah, I guess if they do buy shorter term short term bills, that would be a real sign of desperation, I would say. But anyway, Greg McClement, thank you for your super chat. Uh, in British Columbia, it was just ruled that the mining laws are not compatible with UNDRIP, so ownership needs to be renegotiated. Would that affect your decisions on mining stocks? Um, I don't know what UNDRIP is. Is that some climate change rule from the UN?
I've never heard of that, but he's talking about ownership chain, ownership of the mines. At the moment, the mines are owned by the shareholders. That's you and I.
Yeah.
So if Canada starts behaving like Burkina Faso and stealing gold mines or something like that, of course, we're not going to invest in Canada at all.
Yeah, and this is this is a ruling. I don't think it's law. So it's still, I think mining is so important to Canada and British Columbia that I'm not sure. I mean, and there are other mining stocks that are not in Canada, even though a lot of them are listed there. But I don't think they would be shooting themselves in the foot
No,
like that.
no. Any country which behaves in a way which is unfriendly to shareholders will see shareholders not only flee from the things which are affected, they'll flee from everything, which
Yeah.
will mean it's much harder to raise capital in the country, and the whole country will become poorer.
Also, it's a Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, United Nations. Yeah, I think a lot of Canadian mining companies already have the Indigenous people as shareholders, and they're quite, I think, aware of the fact that they have to work with the Indigenous peoples. So, what's the question again? They're saying the mining laws are not compatible with, well, I'm sure they could fix that. And I guess the ownership would mean, they would have to provide more chance of ownership for the indigenous people. That already happens, so I don't think it makes much difference, Clive.
Yeah, no, I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, there's a vested interest group who wants more, a bigger share of something. They want money at the expense
Yeah,
of somebody else.
yeah.
And,
It's like in
whether they'll
South
get,
Africa, I think every company has to they give 30% of public companies to black South Africans, and I think it's one of the reasons why Elon Musk hasn't started any businesses there because he doesn't think that's right. But anyway, there's Chris Conman. Thank you for your super chat. When do you think the NYSC will start heading lower? What will be the catalyst? Thanks.
Great question.
Yeah, NYSC, I guess, is the whole New York Stock Exchange. I guess you mean the Dow Industrial Average. Clive, you think is a great question. I'll let you answer it
Yeah.
first.
Well, first of all, we've been in a bull market for many, many years as far as stocks are concerned, and prices of a very small select group of companies, about 10 of them, at the top of the pile are way too high. I don't want to say extremely too high, but they're certainly probably 30 to 50% above where I think fair value should lie. And the whole of the world market is controlled effectively by what these 10 companies do. So if these 10 companies go up, all the indices of the world are going up. And if these 10 companies go down, all the indices of the world are going down with it. So the risk here is that there is a crack in one of these companies, let's say a Nvidia or a Meta or a Microsoft or a Alphabet, something goes wrong, maybe a lawsuit or something. And if something does go wrong, then that stock could come off, dragging the others down with it. And then we're suddenly in a negative market mood. At the moment, we're still positive. And if we go into a negative market mood, people start to sell things and they become more nervous. And then that turns into a rout and potentially a bear market, which means stocks are down 20%. There's no certainty of what triggers it because the question is he says what's the catalyst? Well, the catalyst can be anything, and a catalyst is sometimes things you just don't see coming. The other thing which is maybe worth mentioning, there's been a lot of talk about the incestuous behavior of some of the tech companies where one tech company, let's say, and I use it as an illustration here, let's say Nvidia invests $100 billion in OpenAI, which doesn't have enough money, on condition that OpenAI buys Nvidia chips, as an
Yeah,
example. If that happens, it's kind of incestuous because Nvidia has just created revenue for themselves by paying and it's not illegal, by the way, doing this, by paying one of their buyers or to the money that they need to buy the goods. But what happens if AI, which is not a profitable company, never becomes profitable and this all falls down? They can't actually pay for what they've agreed to pay. Then that
yeah,
revenue becomes kind of fake.
yes, circular financing, isn't it? But yeah,
Vendor financing, they call it.
vendor, yeah. Um, The other thing I would say about that question is that yes, stock markets are melting up, but they're not melting up against real money, i.e., gold. This is the Dow Gold ratio, and according to this chart, the Dow topped in October 2018. So, and a lot of people don't look at it like this, and they keep expecting a crash and a correction, and it just keeps going up. And the same thing happened in Weimar, Germany. The stock market just kept going up, even though the currency was disappearing. But the stock market didn't go up as quickly as the price of gold went up versus the currency, and therein, I think, is the key thing. So we could have a correction in the stock market, but I think the central banks will always come to the rescue. So, yeah, good luck trying to time crashes in the stock market at the moment.
Yeah,
That's my opinion.
I've been investing money for 50 odd years, Mario, and I can tell you there's never ever been a year when people are not predicting a crash or a depression or a decline or a recession. And you know what? These things do happen sometimes, probably about 10 to 15% of the years, but the other 85%, 85, 90% of the years, the predicted crash doesn't happen. So I think those who are predicting crashes will sometimes get it right and be called heroes when they get it right, but they're kind of uh, they're betting on the slowest horse, if you don't mind me saying. It's much better to, if you're going to make a bet on the horse which is in the lead, and that's the stock market going up.
Yeah. And I would say though that silver's up 100% this year, gold 61, and I think the Nasdaq is only up 16%. But anyway,
Well, there you have What are you
Yeah,
going to bet on? Bet
yeah,
on the silver and gold. They're the ones which are running. There's a
yeah,
huge number of people who've missed the boat. They wish
yeah,
they could have bought. They wish they could have bought at 4,100, 4,000, 3,900, 3,800. So all these people who missed the boat are slowly raising their price in their mind, saying, if it just gets back to that price, I'll buy it. Oh, I missed
yeah.
it.
And also, you heard of the executive order for 401ks that could come into effect in February, and that's going to unleash 9.3 trillion potentially. That not the whole thing, of course, but some percentage of that could go into gold and silver because and miners because right now they you can't in a 401k invest in commodities and yeah, so anyway, Jake's Custom Parts, thank you for your super chat. Question for Clive. Your thoughts on China slash LME and the base metals for 2026? Have you got a view on base metals?
I think a lot depends on the economy. Um, if we go into a recession, which has been predicted now for best part of a year and a half, and we're still not in a recession officially, not officially anyway, but if we go into a recession and production starts to fall off a little bit, it's bad for the base metals.
Yeah,
And I kind of think we are possibly in a recession already, and that's why I'm kind of pushing my forecast for the copper rise backwards a bit to the middle of next year. Having said that, I might be wrong. Keep looking at the way it's behaved this week. It's
yeah.
heading to the moon.
Richard, Richard, to be true. Thank you for your super chat. My 22-year-old boy wants an economics book on libertarianism or a narco-capitalism for Christmas. No joke. Can you both recommend, please? Yeah, I can recommend a really good one. It's a big book, though. He's going to take a while to read it, but it's really worth it. I read it in 1999, and it really changed the way I think. It's not an economics book per se, but it's like a novel. It's called Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. That's what it's about over 700 pages though, but he needs to read that, in my opinion, if he wants to learn more about those kinds of subjects. Clive, have you got something on that?
I can't suggest one, but I do see someone in the chat is suggesting the secret history of British financial power. I don't know if that's related to the question, but that was what somebody was just suggesting just
Yeah.
now in the chat.
Well, yeah, there's a documentary about that, the Empire of the City, I think it's called, or yeah, Britain controls via the offshore centers like tens of trillions of dollars that are
Yeah.
parked like in the Cayman Islands and the in Bermuda and other places.
So,
So
so
yeah,
someone is recommending the Empire of the City as well.
yeah,
Brilliant, brilliant book,
yeah,
they say.
yeah. But that's not really. I would say, yeah, that's a lot smaller. That's a good one too. I have that one too.
Someone's
Uh,
suggesting the creatures from Jekyll Island, of
yeah,
course,
yeah,
about
yeah.
the creation of the central bank.
That's a good one too. Yeah, and also End the Fed by Ron Paul.
Hmm.
Yeah, is it and the Fed? Yeah, Ron Paul has written a book about that. I've got that one too. So, uh, any more questions? Let's see.
I saw someone had asked a question. There's two questions I saw. One, which is really for you, Mario, which was
Yeah,
what do you think the correct percentage of gold and silver that you should hold in your portfolio?
gold and silver.
Yeah, and the ratio between the two. I can't remember who asked the question. It was
Yeah,
quite
I
a bit further
mean,
earlier.
I mean, if I strip out my house, which is paid for, I mean, it's almost and I do have cash, but it's almost 90% gold and silver. Uh, as for the difference between gold and silver, it's much more, it leans a lot more towards gold, but the silver part is growing. Uh, and yeah, I just try to buy both, even though I know silver is going to outperform. One thing I've done recently, though, is I sold some of my gold miners, not all of them, and added on to the silver miners because I think they will do a lot better than the gold miners, even though the gold miners will do well too. What about you, Clive? Do you want to answer that? I know
I
you're a
think
bit more
yeah.
conservative than me.
When we started this show, or you started the show with me 2 years or more ago, I guess my ratio was something like 15% actual exposure to gold, silver miners, ETFs, and so forth. Um, I bought a lot of gold and silver in the last 2 years, and most recently the last week or so. So I'm guessing that with the rise in price and the gold and silver I bought, it's probably closer to 30% exposure.
Mm,
Uh,
double,
of,
you
of
doubled it.
yeah, of which a fair amount of that's come from the rise in silver miners and gold miners and the rise in the gold price. But obviously, there's been a certain amount of additions, which are, whenever I've got some spare cash, I say, what's the best thing I can do with my cash? And
Yeah.
realistically speaking, in the environment we're in at the moment, I can't think of anything better to do with my cash other than to put it into precious metals. Now, and that's not to say I'm rushing to sell other things to do that. That's not the point. But if you've got some new cash, what are you going to do with it? Do you want to buy stocks at these prices? Probably not, maybe not. So I'd rather go for something physical that I can touch.
Yeah. Dr. Denise, MD, thank you for your super chat. Dr. Denise, MD. Thoughts on XRP being declared a tier one asset by the BIS and the financial reset dynamics and tokenization on blockchain of gold and silver. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard of BIS declaring XRP tier one asset. As for tokenization on the blockchain of gold and silver, I think it's a bad idea. Gold and silver are supposed to be private, and if you put them on the blockchain, everyone will know what you're doing with your gold and silver. I think that's Larry Fink trying to control everything. He wants to tokenize the world so he can steal everybody else's assets for BlackRock and other elites. Clive, have you heard about XRP being uh, declared tier one asset?
Well, I've no wish to bash cryptocurrency when so many people are super keen on it. And I've had an awful lot of people try to persuade me that it's an excellent cryptocurrency, but I'm still struggling with seeing in what way it's going to be useful. I mean, and I know people talk about this all the time. They can see it, and I can't. And I certainly haven't heard about it becoming a tier one asset. Having said that, I think that the company behind it, which is called Ripple Labs Inc., are doing incredibly well by constantly selling XRP to fund their operations, and they must be really, really glad that there's armies of people who believe in it, want to buy it. So it's helping the company, Ripple Labs Inc. But obviously, Ripple Labs Inc. is not XRP. XRP is like just a commodity. They've got this ton of XRP that they can sell, and they're selling it like a commodity and creating a revenue stream out of it to pay their development for various banking systems. So great for Ripple, but I can't really see why. I'm not. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. What I'm saying is I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
why it's good.
I mean, I have dabbled in XRP over the years, and I just can't see it being a tier one, an asset for tier one, tier one asset, if you want to call it. It's so, I mean, I guess you can say it's been fairly steady, but it's quite volatile. And I mean, they just made gold a tier one asset, and I can understand that, but not XRP. And like you said, there's a company called Ripple behind it. I think the technology might be okay. So I forgot to bring share the chart of XRP. I was looking at it without sharing. So this chart only goes back a few years, though, a couple of years. That's XRP. But anything's possible. But I think right now central banks they're buying more gold and silver than crypto. So and that's the thing, Clive. Up until I think gold might have gone up. It could be unchanged on the year or down slightly. So all those people who said Bitcoin is digital gold, well, it hasn't acted like gold. Gold is up 61%. Bitcoin should be up this year because of de-dollarization, of currency debasement. But it's acting, yeah, it's not even acting like the tech stocks because stocks are up. So I don't know what to think about why Bitcoin is down, really.
From time to time, and I mean once every year or so, I publish on LinkedIn an asset allocation table. The last one I published that was actually about 2 years ago, and I did in fact put 2% Bitcoin into my asset allocation then. Bitcoin, by the way, was a lot lower than it is today. I think it was around 40, 50, 60,000, something like that. Obviously, it's a very, very risky asset, and the price moves, in huge percentages in both directions when it decides to move. But I'm not going to make a prediction that it's going up now. But I don't think it's wrong to have a tiny, tiny exposure to it as part of your asset allocation, because if it does move big time upwards, it will move the needle. And if you have a tiny allocation, it moves down, it won't really matter much at all.
Yeah, I've got another super chat here. Dr. Rutley, thank you for that. He says, I read recently, can't remember where, that some governments, India, South Korea, are demanding bullion dealers report any recent large purchases of gold, silver. Am I dreaming? I haven't heard of that. I mean, what I'm hearing is that India and South Korea are actually, their central banks are buying gold and silver quite in big amounts, but I haven't heard of that. Have you heard of that? That they're asking bullion dealers to report
Re
large
report
purchases?
report I've heard nothing, but it's a general thing around the world that bullion dealers are obliged to keep records of large purchases in case there is an inquiry for money laundering reasons. So, in the event that a criminal is found to have a lot of gold or something like that, then they can go to where he bought it from and say, how did he pay for it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And a lot of countries have a threshold. I think yeah, so there you go. Over here, no more talk from the Trump administration about the 2000. Oh, hold on a second. I got my chat went down, so I have to.
Well, while you're looking for the
Yeah,
chat, Mary, I saw a question from somebody,
yeah.
and it went like this: What should we look out for as a warning sign that the rally in gold and silver is about to come to an end?
Yeah. Do you want to answer that first?
Well, yes. I mean, I think there's a real danger that the rally will come to an end if we have world peace declared, if the Chinese stop buying gold and start selling it, if we have an end to inflation, and of course, if Mr. Trump does some sort of negotiated deal with China so that we're all on the same wavelength. And I think also the other thing perhaps we need to have is this no more weaponization of the dollar. If they sort of say to everybody whose reserves have been frozen, you can have them back. I think if we get all of those things happening, there's a chance that gold and silver will go down.
Yeah, I mean, for me, is if governments around the West start like cutting the size of government. Um,
Oh yes, yes. The
dire-
stop the deficit. That would
yeah,
help, wouldn't it?
deregulating the economy. What else? If they stop all wars and like interference and the world peace breaks out.
Yeah.
Because if you look historically, all the periods of great inflation and like when they stop gold convertibility or when they go off gold standards are all related to wars. So yeah, if you think world peace is going to break out, yeah, but
And if you think they're going to solve the deficit problem,
oh, the other one, I would start thinking about selling some of my gold for other assets is if the Dow gold ratio goes down to 1 to 1. I think that's a really good indicator. and it has been historically. Uh, Blue Water Stacks, thank you for your super chat. My 401k doubled, mostly miners. Merry Christmas. Uh, Blue Water Stacks, I'm glad you mentioned that because I thought you couldn't invest in miners in the 401k. And one of the reasons for Trump's executive order from August was to allow people to invest in commodities. And I guess you can invest in mining stocks, but not in physical gold and silver. Maybe you could clarify that. But I'm happy that you've done well. If they doubled, but yeah. Don't forget that unless you take a little bit of profit, you haven't made any money, right, Clive?
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't I've never sold an ounce of gold or a gold miner yet, and I don't see myself doing anything in the next 3 months or 6 months, really. I rather think that gold miners and the gold price and the silver price, they're all going to get carried higher in the environment we're in. Obviously, I'll keep reassessing, but just because the price is higher than what I paid, I say, if I sell, what am I going to do with the money? I'm going to put it
Yeah.
back into cash and leave it in the bank account. Well, here in Switzerland, what are we earning? We're earning, well, it's probably negative returns after I allow for the bank fees.
Yeah, I mean, I agree about gold and silver physical. Yeah, you try never to sell it unless you have an emergency. But the miners this year, there was a company I did really well in, and I took some profits, and then it came back down and a little lower than where I bought, and I've added bought it back. It's just nice sometimes to have something to show for.
Well,
But
well done, Mario. You wheeler dealer.
not really. It's just that, in the past, I remember in '05 to '08, I was running my pension as a SIP, self-invested personal pension. I put it in gold and silver miners. It did really well, but then it just collapsed really quickly. And I thought it's partly my fault. Maybe I should have gotten out. But now I hear that a lot of miners back then, they abused the, you know, things. And it's one of the reasons why it's taken so long for the miners to come back because people were skeptical that, the people running these mines were going to abuse their profits again. So maybe that's why I did that. Uh, SQ 7944 says, uh, I wanted a dealer which has a shop and a YouTube channel. Person, tell a person. I don't really understand what you've written here. Tell a person over 10,000 gold to hit him at the store in video posted. Maybe you could. Do you understand that question, Clive?
I can't find the question, Mario.
It's SQ 7944. It's
Oh, yes. You could, well, I see something from him saying you convert into fiat to pay off a large debt, such as a home mortgage. That's what I see. That's
yeah.
not the question, is it? That's not the question.
Yeah, maybe you could rephrase that question. I can't understand that. DDPPU1KM, thank you for your super chat. At what price will you trade your silver for gold? Or at what silver? No, I'm not trading my silver for gold, nor vice versa. I'm keeping both. That's how I look at it. You, Clive?
Well, my next purchase, which will be in January, will be of gold. I think the thing to buy now is sovereigns because there's. I used to buy 1 ounce coins, but I think the sovereigns are smaller and therefore more attractive to me at the moment. So, but I'm not giving up on silver, but I just feel that after this huge rise, bearing in mind the last price I paid for a silver was when silver was $35, and now we're at $50
Yeah.
in a month. I think I'd just rather buy the gold, which has gone up less.
Yeah, I mean, I try to buy gold and silver with fiat. That's so I don't try to,
And I wouldn't switch from one to the other,
yeah.
no.
Uh, old, what is it? Old groin. I switched some of my pension fund, not a SIP, into three times precious metals fund about a year ago, and all of them have trebled.
Wow.
They're dangerous, those three-time things. You got to be careful with those. Yeah, I don't recommend them. I'm glad you did well. Uh,
The danger with the double X and the triple X pro shares is that if the price just goes up and down, but effectively goes nowhere, you will lose money both on the bull and the bear version. They'll both go south. And
yeah,
the reason for that is
they
just
could go to
mathematical.
zero, couldn't they?
Well, most of them do in the end.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, you're fine if it's a constantly rising market, but it really kills you if it's up, down, up, down. The more volatile it is, the more it kills you. Uh, so he's been very lucky that it's been a constantly up market, and he's done very well. But if we go into a period of consolidation, you might find that the gold price is at the same price in 6 months, but he's down 20% on that ProShares on
yeah.
3X on the 3X one.
Over here is asking, is XRP connected to to the Fed now system? I don't think so. I've never heard it being connected to the Fed now.
No, I've
Uh,
not heard that.
Harry Bloom, fiat money or fiat currency, really, because it's not real money, but I know what you mean. Fiat money, the greatest scam of all time. I agree. Um, it is. That's why we are where we are. High Silver saying sovereigns are about 800 pounds. Yeah, and what Clive's trying to say about sovereigns, because they're about 0.2354 of a troy ounce. As the gold price goes higher and higher, it will be more affordable. And they also have quarter sovereigns and half sovereigns, Clive. So I think those will become really popular. That's why I've always told people, yeah, buy 1 ounce Britannias, but also buy sovereigns. They're also recognized worldwide sovereigns.
I mean, the thing I like about sovereigns, and I'm not talking about the Queen Elizabeth, the new ones. I'm talking about the older ones from 50 to 100 years ago, I suppose. They're used coins. They're coins which were actually used. You can see when you buy them that they
Yeah,
got the wear and tear on them. And there's something. Whilst I love beautiful new coins, nice shiny coins which have never come out of the box, which have got a part of a collection. I also love the old ones because they've been used. They feel more real.
yeah. Uh, David James Flood is asking, Mark Faber said recently he is prioritizing buying platinum over gold right now. Any thoughts from you and Clive? Yeah, I'll answer that first. I don't really follow platinum that much. I know it's a precious metal, and I stick with gold and silver because I'm a student of money and sound money, and that the trade for me is being long gold and silver. I think Mark Faber is not as much of a purist, let's say, even though he believes in small government and sound money. He's more of a fund manager and he's managing other people's money. So he's trying to maximize it. So I'll stick to gold and silver, but he could be right. Clive?
Well, I was actually talking face to face with Mark Faber in Zurich 2 weeks ago, and he literally pulled out a bar of platinum from his pocket. And he had a group of people around him, including myself. And he literally said to everybody, "I want you all to buy platinum and get the price higher." Then someone said, "Are you buying platinum?" And he said, "No, the price is too high." So I thought that
Yeah.
was a kind of contradiction.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him last year there. I've interviewed him a few times on the channel, but this year when I was in Zurich, I left early to come back, and I think he spoke towards the end of the conference. Unfortunately, I wasn't there. He spoke with what's his name? The English guy. I forgot. Did you watch
Oh,
that?
yeah, I did, but I can't remember who we're talking
Yeah.
about now. The
Yeah.
name is gone.
Uh, Requa 3, Clive's thoughts on Swiss 20 francs Helvetia or Vreneli. They're called Vrenelis. Well, they're just a little less weight than the sovereigns. They're good too for Switzerland.
I mean, everybody in Switzerland knows what a Vranelli is, and traditionally, uh, big companies would give to their employees for their children's birthdays or at Christmas a Vranelli per child. So a lot of Swiss people have got 10 or 18 Vranellis, which they've collected from their parents who are working for companies which give them a present of one Vranelli a year. Of course, that was in the days when a Vranelli was worth 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 francs. Now, of course, a Vranelli is worth a lot of money. I don't know how much it's worth these days, but it's probably worth about 500 francs, I'm guessing.
And I think
Uh,
they're 0.18 67 of an ounce. So you can do the calculation there. So they're 90% and the weight, what's the weight?
how many grams are they?
6.45 grams gross weight.
So,
So it's
so that
5.8 of pure gold.
Oh, well, that'd be about $700 worth of gold, right?
Yeah, yes, about 600 pounds, I guess.
Yeah. So I
So yeah,
guess
a little less than the sovereign, but
I, I guess these days the companies are not so keen to give away that kind of money to every employee who's
no.
got children.
And I think they had a hundred franc gold coin as well at one point.
I got a little story about Frodelli's. This was from about, it could be 40 years ago when I was first in Switzerland. And back then they had an open, there's still a UBS gold counter, but now it's kind of behind a door. But back then it was kind of open, a bit like a cash desk. And so people would come up to the gold counter to buy their gold, and they had the price of dollar Rodellis, Krugerrands, and bars and so forth. And the price of gold bars, kilogram bars, was about 6 to 9,000 Swiss francs at that time.
Yeah,
And anyway, a lady came in with a big bag of Rodellis, like a bag like that. It must have been a kilo or more of Rodellis. And she plonked them down on the counter and said, I want to sell these to the dealer. And the guy at UBS, he takes up this big pair of clippers and chops one in half. And she absolutely flips. What are you doing, chopping my lovely Ranellis in half? He said, I've got to check they're real gold from inside out. And she absolutely panics. She said, I'm not selling them. She grabs back the one which is cut in half, and she takes back the whole bag, and she wouldn't sell any
yeah.
of them to him.
That's a little bit too much what he did there. I mean, that's he should have asked first. Do you mind if I? Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
she had committed to sell them, and then of
Yeah.
course
Oh, okay.
he
Oh,
was.
okay.
I'm sure he wasn't going to cut them all in half. I
Yeah,
think he
yeah.
was probably going to test one or two to make sure.
Yeah. Oh, we've got that question again from SQ7944. He said, I watched a bullion dealer on YouTube tell a customer who sold over $20,000 in gold coins to him to report the sale when she returns to her state in the South. He filled out paperwork. Well, here in the UK, 20, if you sell 20,000 dollars, which is about, I don't know, 15,000 pounds in gold. You don't have to report anything. I think even if you sell 200,000 pounds, we don't have to report anything here.
Uh,
I'm not sure
Individual.
what the rules are in the US, maybe because she did it interstate. I'm not sure. Is there a state tax in her state? Is she reporting to her state or to the federal government? Don't know.
I mean, we don't, as individuals, we don't have to report anything in Switzerland. We have a wealth tax, which is quite low. So you're supposed to put these things on your tax return for your wealth, but reporting your sales and purchases, no, there's no need.
No, not nor here either in the UK. Um, over here it says, I love the concept that gold has been around since the earth was created, just like Bitcoin, I guess, Clive.
Yeah, my granddad was a Bitcoin miner. Pretty dangerous work back then. Falling blocks, too much gas, and yeah, and I think he got too much Bitcoin dust in his blockchain, killed him.
Clive, do you know what the definition of a tether is? You know, that's the name of the coin. I know it
Oh,
means something.
a tether is what you tie up a donkey with, isn't it?
Or is it? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Someone's asking in the UK if you sell gold bars, you have to you also have no, you don't have to report selling anything in the UK because uh, gold bars and gold coins are not financial assets. Unfortunately for gold bars, though, you might have to report to the tax man how much profit you made because there are capital gains tax on gold that's not coin of the realm. So that's the only, but that's a different thing. So if you,
That's a wicked tax, Mario. I
yeah,
mean, people are all they're trying to do is preserve their wealth and preserve their buying power, and 10 years later, they take half of it from you in taxes.
oh yeah, look, expat stacker 777. Yeah, my ancestors brought Bitcoin over from Europe when they immigrated in the late 1700s.
Didn't Jesus tell some sort of parable about it? Some guy buried his Bitcoin in the garden.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, just a little bit of fun there. Sorry for the people, the Bitcoin people. Apparently, Bitcoin is not a crypto. I mean, is that true, Clive? I used to think it was, but nowadays, like if you say that Bitcoin is a crypto, they have a hissy fit.
Well, I mean, technically, it was the first crypto because
Yeah,
it relies on it was all about cryptography.
I know.
It was designed and developed in the cryptography forum, where all the well-known cryptographers hung out and were trying to design the first digital money. And there were many ideas, but all of these digital currencies were based on cryptography in some form or other. And the problem was which was finally solved with the blockchain. But the problem was, how could you avoid duplication? I.e., if I've got a digital coin, what's to stop me making multiple copies of it and selling it 3 times to three
Yeah.
different people?
Well, what the last question here, because it's time for us to wrap up. And Durarama says, Mario, are central banks taking physical silver delivery or ETFs only? No, physical. Central banks don't. They're not into ETFs, even though the Saudi Monetary Authority did buy SLV. But I would think that they would probably ask for delivery from the SLV, which for us retail investors is very difficult. No, but the central banks don't. They're buying physical. They don't buy paper, and especially since 2022, they don't trust Western financial institutions anymore because what they did to Russian reserves. Clive, any final thoughts for the viewers before we wrap up?
Nothing special, Mario. I wish that everybody will have a lovely Christmas if we don't speak again. I'm going to be going away, so I won't be here next week, I'm afraid. And if I don't speak before Christmas, I wish everybody a happy Christmas.
Yeah, me too. And we have a little Christmas tree behind me. Can you see it?
I do, yes.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
nice,
I
Mario.
took a picture of Rudy sitting in front of it. It was pretty good. I'll probably post it on the community part of YouTube. And then I took the picture and I asked ChatGPT to put a red nose on him. So I've got one with him with his red nose, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. Anyway,
Lovely.
thank you everyone for being here. There's quite a few of you today concurrently. We had over 2,000, which is really good. And thank you for all the questions, the super chats, and just for being here. And yeah, like Clive said, Merry Christmas or holidays, whatever you celebrate. And I'll be here. And okay, bye, guys.
There's one thing I just say quickly to
Oh,
your viewers.
yeah.
I will, in the next 7 days, be putting up a website called clivethompson.com.
Oh,
And it will have my top picks, my top share picks for 2026 on it.
okay. I'll have a look at that too. You're not doing it on Substack?
No, it'll be on a website called